Hey divers, vintage divers, it's Alec Peirce Scuba, Vintage Scuba once again. And the first thing I have to do today is say hi to my friends at Simply Scuba. I am, I suppose, by your definition, one of the original old school SKOOL divers. It is pretty funny, you know, if you go to the Simply Scuba YouTube channel, get a lot of information, a lot of videos, a lot of information, a good fun bunch of guys over there in UK. Not my birthplace, but my birthright, the UK. Yes, I actually have a British passport, and my dad was born in Kent. Been there many times, love the country, and I love Simply Scuba. But I get a kick, I was going to say, out of some of the people who make comments on the Simply Scuba website. Lots of fun. And the divers who were certified, oh gosh, way back in 88, 89, 90, and so on, how they make comments, and they're experts. I started diving in 1958. 30 years before them, and I'm an idiot. But anyway, let's carry on. Thanks very much, Simply Scuba. Back to Vintage Scuba, old school. That's SCHOOL because we're here in Canada diving, and I have some more of these fantastic old posters. You know, it's not often that you can watch television or movies for any long period of time without seeing something to do with scuba diving. But now it's not a big deal. A scuba diver in the movie, you don't even notice it. Oh, there's a scuba diver there. You don't even notice it. Just on it goes. It's in all kinds of movies, all kinds of television ads, but that wasn't the case. No siree. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, scuba diving was a new sport. Going underwater was all a new adventure. And it was dangerous. You know, there were sharks and beautiful women, and there were shipwrecks and beautiful women, and there were sea monsters and beautiful women, and all kinds of things down there to attract and to destroy a scuba diver. And the movies at the time reflected that. There were a lot of movies that featured underwater scenes, underwater adventure, and scuba divers, and hard hat divers, and all kinds of divers. And I have all these wonderful posters going back to the 40s. The 40s. That was before the 50s and 60s for you folks that are taking new math. But anyway, I have a few. I'd love to show you these. You know, they're wonderful old posters, colorful and exciting. Here's one right here. Look at this. Watch this. Hell can be very cold, very wet, and very deep. I've never heard undersea being called hell before. A lot of other things. But anyway, this movie certainly reflected that. This was a movie about. It was a wartime movie about submarines and destroyers and ships and divers and all kinds of neat stuff. And just look at this poster. Now, imagine for a moment, you're 10, 11, 12 years old, and you see an ad for this movie. Maybe you see this poster as you walk past a local theater. What's the chances that you're not going to want to go and see it? Look at it. Everything's in there that a young man would hop up and down about. Yeah, except for the beautiful girl. I don't see the beautiful girl in there. I'm sure there's somewhere in there is going to be one. I'm sure of it. Anyway, that's a beautiful poster from many, many years ago, 1968. This particular one. And James Caan is one of the major actors in this movie. And it's just a beautiful poster and a beautiful movie. I have several more to show you. Some older and some much newer as well. Just a chance to look at some of these fantastic old scuba movies. Okay, be right back with another one. Now here's a great old poster that you probably don't even remember. Juggernaut, yeah, great movie. And here's the scuba diving connection here. Scuba diver parachuting in. It's funny because I remember now in the 60s and 70s there was, for a short period of time anyway, there was quite a fad or quite a thing going on about Periscope. Periscope. That's right. And it was a neat idea at the time. And what would happen and what you would do is you put on your scuba gear and your parachute up in an airplane, and you would go over to some place where there's water. And that's the whole idea, you see, where you might go scuba diving, and you would parachute out of the plane. And skydive and parachute down and land in the water, take off your parachute and go scuba diving. Talk about combining sports. Anyway, here we are with a couple of military guys, scuba divers, and this is a kind of a neat movie. Richard Harris was in this. Omar Sharif, you remember Omar Sharif? He was, what was that great movie? Omar Sharif and that beautiful blonde.
Russian.
Yeah, in Russia. Anyway, and Anthony Hopkins is in this. It's a wonderful old movie. You would pay me $1.5 million by dawn, or the world's greatest luxury liner will rip open like a can of sardines, and 1,200 men, women, and children will die. Good day, Juggernaut. And so the movie goes on. A pretty neat old movie. Here we go. Now this is a vintage poster, but it's not old like 16 fathoms deep or something. It's relatively new, and this is a neat poster about a movie. You may not remember this movie. It's not that old, but unfortunately it wasn't a real big hit. Lords of the Deep, and this movie has everything that a scuba movie is supposed to have, right? It's got fantastic scuba diver and really futuristic scuba gear. I wish I had some of this stuff. It's pretty neat. And it has, of course, a spear gun held by a beautiful woman. Nothing wrong with that. And there's some underwater habitat. And I don't know what these are, but they sure look like eyes of a monster. Everything's in there, you know. A scuba diver, a monster, beautiful woman. Classic movie poster. Lords of the Deep. Something to check out. Is that a classic poster? Yeah, you guys are getting to know what a classic poster is all about now, right? Monster, yeah. Scuba diver, has to be a scuba diver in there, and a beautiful woman. Yeah, Villette Menu, oh yeah, Mimieux, yeah, she's fantastic. Now this movie, The Neptune Factor, is a fairly well-known movie. It actually was pretty popular, so there's a chance that you saw this movie, but there is one of the posters from it, and what a poster. I don't know who the artists are that make up these posters, but they're talented. I mean, again, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 49 years old. You see this poster, you want to go to that movie, right? And this is a pretty neat one. I mean, it's got Gazzara was in this, Ernest Borgnine. A lot of quite famous names in this movie. Look at that fish. Unbelievable. Okay, more coming. Talk about a classic movie. Up Periscope. Up Periscope was, again, a very well-known movie. I think maybe we saw some lobby cards from Up Periscope earlier. I'm not too sure, but this is a great one with James Garner, Edmond O'Brien. These are great looking guys. I think James Garner played Maverick, didn't he? I think he played Maverick. And look at it. There he is again. Scuba diver. The gear's a little bit weird, but we won't talk about that. We're not being picky. And of course, a beautiful girl. And you know, that's why I wanted to be a frogman when I was 8 years old, watching Mike Nelson and those guys, because they had fun. They got to spear fish, and they always got the beautiful girl in the end. A long time ago, it was great. Okay, here we go. And another one, here we go. This is a fairly new one. I don't know, some of you may remember this. Killer Fish wasn't a big movie. But I mean, look at the picture, look at the fish over here. And the divers, of course, and the eyes on the divers. Now, this is not that old. I can tell it's not that old from looking at the gear. They actually have buoyancy compensators, and they have Conshelf 22 U.S. divers, aqualung regulators, and so on. But that's not the point. Killer Fish. I mean, this is what my mother thought when I started scuba diving, when I was 8, 9 years old. I started scuba. This is what she saw underwater. Pretty funny, huh? But the actors in this, we got Lee Majors, Karen Black, both well-known actors. Margaux Hemingway, well-known actress. Marissa Berenson, nothing wrong with that. But James Francisco, yeah, great actors. Good old movie. Killer Fish, I love it. Everybody knows the name Captain Nemo, of course, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, fantastic movie. This is not 20,000 Leagues. It's Captain Nemo in the Underwater City, a later version involving Captain Nemo, but a fantastic movie. And this was about the time, I think this is in the 70s, I'm guessing here, 70s or 80s. This is the time when special effects were starting. I mean, look at some of the vehicles and the divers and the flares and the sharks and the knife and the shark and all. Oh yeah, it's a classic. And Chuck Connors and Robert Ryan were the actors. Yeah, fantastic. Look at that poster, though. If you have the poster, you don't need to go and see the movie. There's another one, another old movie. Probably never heard of it, right? September Storm, big hit. No, I don't know. 1961. It's interesting because when I was young, still living at home in my small town, my family was very conservative, like really conservative. I wasn't allowed to go to movies. I didn't go to a movie until I was 18 or 19 years old. But I'll tell you, I used to walk by the theater. Yeah, September Storm. This has got everything. There it is, guys. Typical old scuba movie. Scuba diver, 12-inch knife, shark, beautiful girl, double hose regulator in a bikini, and the frogman always gets the girl. September Storm. This is from the story of the girl in the red bikini. I don't know that one either, but anyway, that's pretty neat. Okay, we're almost to the end of this little batch. I have one more to show you, which I think will make you laugh, but well, let's take a look at this one for a second. When this movie came out, The Silent World by Jacques Cousteau, 1956, it was a big hit. It was the first really good underwater film that was made. Filmed in the Red Sea with the coral, the fishes, everything else. A little bit of a story to it as well, which didn't hurt. And you can see here, this is typical Cousteau, fancy equipment, sharks, fish, no girls. No, there were no girls on the Calypso. Weird, because they're French, but anyway. But they're all there. The stars are Jacques Cousteau, Louis Méal, Frederick Dumas, Andrew Falco. Those were the divers. Those were Cousteau's friends and personal dive buddies, if you like, diving from the Calypso. Famous movie. And I have the movie, 16mm film, and several movie posters from it. Yeah, it was quite famous. By today's standards, it looks funny. If you ever watch The Silent World, you'll see that the photography is well, it's old. It's old. There you go. But at the time, it was leading edge. Very, very nice. Now I have one more to show you. One more funny one, and then we'll wrap it up. Kevin says, how the heck do you get blazing saddles and scuba diving? Well, I don't know if you watched Blazing Saddles. I think everybody's watched Blazing Saddles once, which is about the right number of times to watch it. Anyway, there's Blazing Saddles in Mexican, in Spanish, for the Mexican market, all in Mexico, but pretty easy to spot Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, Slim Pickens, and of course Harvey Korman. They're all there. They all are. So let's just got the scuba, do a scuba dive. Well, in this particular scene, there they are. They're hanging a hard-hat diver. I think they should have taken his helmet off first. He'd probably hang better. But anyway, there you go. I thought I'd end with that, a bit of a laugh. Yep, Blazing Saddles, vintage scuba diving. All right, see you guys. Bye-bye, Simply Scuba. Take care.